Hello artists, this is the first stages for advanced painting. Things that I've started to do here is get a really clear reference photo. This is a photo of that I took of some gelato, and I thought that it would really be nice as a simple subject, getting all these textures, simple colors. And of course, as you can see, I've already started to make changes to this busy background that it had. Always start by getting the proportions correct using a well-sharpened pencil. You might want a ruler as well, just to help you with that part of the process. I didn't need too much guidance, but I do find finding the symmetry or asymmetry of things is super helpful. So I did just mark a line down the center. And then once the sketch is complete, you are going to begin your underpainting. And think of an underpainting like a sketch, but done with paint. In this particular case, I've started with the background. I just sort of wanted a soft blue. And now I'm going to retape this to get a nice clean edge for the bottom. I think that below the horizon line here, I'm gonna make it this dark gray. And I always recommend painting out the sides of your canvas while you've got that color mixed. Okay, so this is all taped in, ready to go. Remember to always mix paint, acrylics or oils with your palette knives. Never mix them with brushes. It's just really hard on the brush and you're gonna get a lot of inconsistent color. So I'm just sort of getting some of that up and started, and then I might want some softer grays or even into a white at times. And so I can sort of have that plan ready to go. So as I said, I mean, an underpainting is really just a sketch, but done with paint. And since I'm doing the background here, just wanting to go quickly around the contours of the little cup down here, right? So I always start with that. Nice confident strokes, knowing that I can always come back over this later, so just kind of keeping it the general blocking of the color. I'm not trying to do the entire painting, but with oil especially, if you're going to be doing oils later, or even if you're going to build in more detailed acrylic, it is super helpful to just lay down that main block. Of course, this surface is going to have different highlights, shadows, and reflections, but I just want to get that color sort of all painted out. Okay, so now that I've done some of that edging with this smaller brush, I'm gonna just work very quickly with a thin amount of this acrylic. Again, just treating it like a sketch and just laying down the main blocks of color that I know I'm going to need. And the beauty of doing the underpainting first is it's giving you those large areas, and then it's also going to help you start to define the light source or the different values that you see. Right? Just taking a minute for my edges. So once that solid color is it's down there, then you need to think about, okay, which way is the light coming from in my reference photo? Typically an angled light can be super helpful. Sometimes the light's just shining directly on to your subject. And so in this case, hopefully you can tell from the blues, but the light is coming sort of this way and it's giving me some softer cast shadows. So generally lighter to darker. So some of the darkest areas of this are gonna be down here. So that's where I might come in with a stronger gray. While this acrylic is still wet, it's gonna let me build in those stronger blacks, okay? And then the reverse is also true. I can come in, this will seem really strong at first, but I'm gonna actually go along and lighten this side of, even just my background should have different sort of tones to it, right? And then even into something very strong. Now you might change this later. You very likely will add on to your background using the oils, But the idea here is that we've created sort of that feeling of depth. Okay, I need a slightly smaller brush now. You can just use a clean, damp brush to sort of blend some of this or thin it out if anything is looking sort of too choppy. But that's the idea. And then the other thing that you can do, it's not just for backgrounds. Your underpainting might help you start to define where those lights and shadows are in your actual subject. So I've got, I'm needing to mix up some browns here, some of these peachy kind of vanilla pale yellow tones. But even this cup, if I wanted to start building that, I know that it's not all going to be one white. So I'm gonna take my trusty palette knife. I'm gonna think about where this cup starts to have a little bit of shadow. Same thing in the white-ish ice cream here. And then, without overthinking it, because again, this is a sketch, this underpainting, just gonna block in those main sort of tones or shifts in the color. So I don't want to just ever leave it the white of the canvas. I want to start to build in some interesting base tones to my image. And if I've lost some of the details from my sketch, like right here, I'm losing the lettering as I do this underpainting, that's totally okay. The acrylic is going to dry, and in the next class, the following day, or sometimes even later in that same day, you're going to be able to build some of that sketch back in. But what's nice here is I'm getting a nice sort of richer base layer that's keeping different light to dark values in play. And then that's going to let me really build something much more believable. Okay, I'm going to switch to a bigger brush now and just soften this out. But I'm just starting to try to build that feeling of roundness here into this white cup. And I'm really exaggerating the lights and the darks. So one last thing that might be helpful if you're trying to really get your head around the idea of sketching in paint, or the underpainting as it's called, you are saving yourself time and effort. You're letting a base be there. And you can sketch in a way that's almost like that value map drawing. I'm just gonna try to peel this tape away so that you can see the ice cream a little more clearly here. Actually, this can come up now. And so if you look closely, even at the canvas here, how I did it, within the ice cream or along the spoon, I've tried to do that value map drawing, right? Where all of the different lights and darks are not sketched in any way, but they are indicated almost like a paint by numbers. So you want to continue doing that until the majority of your canvas or all of your canvas is finished, and then we'll move on from the acrylic underpainting into either more advanced acrylics or oils. Good luck.